The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Start with you. Is this the Republican Party's leadership going, oh, no, get away, run away as quickly as possible from this birther issue?
Well, I don't think the Republican Party is a monolith at all. I tend to agree with what Mitt Romney said when he said, I believe Barack Obama born in Honolulu. I believe in the newspapers are probably dead accurate on that. But at the same time, I do agree with Donald Trump when he said, why is Barack Obama toying with the American people? Why doesn't he just produce this and end this controversy? I think it shows a real arrogance of power. And secondly, I will say this, why does not the White House press corps really push the press secretary and say, look, end this controversy, produce it, and get it over with?
Well, I am a member of the White House press corps, Pat, and I got to tell you why we don't raise it at the press corps, because there are more important issues, like what's happening with the debt, what's happening with the deficit, what's happening in Libya, what's happening in Iraq, what's happening with jobs. This is a total non-issue. And Pat, in 2007, the president produced his birth certificate. The state of Hawaii, asked the state of Hawaii too. They did. They put it up online. That's what they do in Hawaii. End of story. But Cenk is right too. Do you really think, Pat, back in 1961, that some woman in Kenya who gave birth to a baby said, now we have to plant a story somewhere. Let's pick Honolulu and 2 newspapers and put 2 notices in the newspaper, because someday this little kid who's an hour old is going to run for president of the United States and has to have some evidence that he was born in this country.
That's a good question, Pat. Do you believe it?
Yeah, sure. No, I said I think the guy was born in Honolulu, but I want to know why the press corps doesn't take one question to the press secretary and tell Jay.
We have, Pat. We have anytime. We have, and we're not going to play your game.
Tell me, Bill, when you say to Jay Carney, Jay, why doesn't the president just release the birth certificate, get this over with? It's an enormous distraction for the country. MSNBC is transfixed with it. They ought to focus on the issues you talked about, Libya and Iraq. So please, Jay, ask the president to release his birth certificate for us.
I'm going to do you one better, Pat. If you actually Google, Obama, birther, and you look at it, you will find that the person who asked the question in the press briefing room was me, Bill Press, about a year and a half ago, of Robert Gibbs. I didn't wait for Jay Carney, and Robert Gibbs laid it all out, Pat. And nobody else is going to go there because we're more serious.
Pat, but it seems to me, Pat, you're falling into the same trap. I mean, you're talking about, is it a birth certificate or a certificate of birth, when you know he's born in Honolulu? Everybody sane knows he's born in Honolulu. So why are you wasting your time on it and possibly costing yourself a general election?
Well, first, I'm not running in the general election. Second, I'm wasting my time because you invited me on here to talk about the birther issue. And let me just say this.
But that's what I'm asking you, Pat. Is it a terrible idea for the Republicans to go down this road?
Well, for heaven's sakes, Republicans take care of themselves. Look, here's what I'm saying is, look, he did issue the certificate of live birth, and behind that, clearly the governor of Hawaii or health officials say, I've seen the birth certificate, it's right there, and the president will not release it. All I'm asking is, why? I think you're born in Hawaii. Everybody does, Mr. President. Why don't you let us see it? It's a collector's item.
He has released it, and you know, Cenk, this is the issue, Cenk. The issue is that there are too many Republicans like Pat who know it's not an issue, but who won't just dump on it and just get rid, like, for example, like Karl Rove has done. Karl Rove said, this is a distraction, don't talk about it. There are too many who have it both ways.
Look, Bill, let me press on that. Hold on, one second, Pat. Let me press on that. You know, is this a Frankenstein that they created, and they were very happy with it, like insinuating, I don't know, this guy's kind of another, etc. But now that it's real, they're like, oh my God, we're going to lose the general election. Backpedal, backpedal, backpedal. Yeah, so it's their fault, right?
Well, the Supreme Court has refused 3 times to hear it. I think they created this, and now it's backfiring on them. And the problem is, Donald Trump won't shut up. You just saw that interview with this club. He's not going to drop it, because look what it has done for him. He went from being a clown to being #1 or #2 in the polls.
But look, you know, let me just say, look, Cenk, the issue of the birthers, before the election, I got emails on the stuff, and you get them, thanks, you read them and drop them off. You never raised it. I've never written a column on it, but I have been invited over here hundreds of times to talk about the issue. Now, look, first you got the birthers who love the issue, then you got MSNBC loves the issue, and the Donald loves the issue, and everybody seams to be having a nice time.
I'll tell you what, Pat.
Close to it by asking the president, please, Mr. President,
but Pat,
get your birth certificate, let us see it.
Pat, it's online already. They already saw it. All those crazy theories have been debunked. Oh, it didn't have the number. It does have the number. The grammar thing. It's already online, Pat. So
send a copy to me.
Okay, yeah, well, I can show you the web address.
You know what?
But look, one thing. But hold on. Because Pat, look, here's the thing. The reason why it's an important issue is obviously it's ripping your party apart, right? And it looks like there was basically a memo sent to all the Republicans saying, okay, run away from this. I mean, you got Rove, you got Pawlenty, you got Romney, you got Cantor. They're all saying it at the same time, and they're throwing Trump under the bus. I mean, and that's what I'm asking you about.
Okay,
do you think the Republican leadership has said, okay, we got to run away from this thing?
All right, now you're talking serious politics, okay? Now, I understand why Romney is saying what he's saying and Pawlenty and the others, but let me tell you, you got 74% if you add the people, the half of the Iowa Republicans who say he wasn't born in the United States, and the 26% say they don't know. That's 3/4 of the Iowa Republican voters. And if Donald Trump is appealing to them politically, then that is not necessarily foolish politics in the narrow, short term for him out there. And those guys, each of these candidates out there is, I mean, Romney's taken a position for the general election quite clear, but I'm telling you, you get 76% of the voters out there, 74%. I'd go out there and you know what I'd say? I believe he was born in Hawaii, but I agree with you folks, we ought to see the birth certificate, and then I would move on to my issues.
See, that,
and I think I'd do very well as I did the last time.
Pat, you know what? You know what your guy once said famously, there you go again, Pat. But you know, Cenk, here's the problem, right? At some point, the party's got to decide, are they going to appeal to the fringe, which is, wait, Pat, wait, I listened to you, on in these Tea Party caucuses in Iowa, or do they want to win an election in 2012? They're not going to win on this issue, and they got to get away from it. And now, it's gotten so ridiculous that the statesman person in the party is Jan Brewer, who rose to the occasion last night and vetoed this bill. But in Arizona, they said, well, if you don't have a birth certificate, you can give us your certificate of circumcision. I've read the Constitution. I don't see where in the Constitution.
All right, Pat,
that's
let me just make one more point here. Look, Bill talks about the Republican Party as though it's in a monolith or an elite. The Republican Party is going to put down the directive that nobody can talk about this or that. We don't want that. We want a robust debate. Frankly, I'd love Ron Paul in there with his views on foreign policy. I'd love to see Sarah Palin with her views on right to life and social conservative. I got no problem with Donald Trump. If he wants to raise that issue or any issue, let the voters decide, for heaven's sake, instead of the party, here's what you must do, and Karl Rove telling us the positions we must take. I don't care what it is.
Well, all right. Pat's very clear on the record. You coming back in, Pat?
I'm thinking of it.
All right. Okay.
I want to see your birth certificate right now.
I got it. Providence Hospital, Bill.
All right. MSNBC political analyst and possible future candidate, Pat Buchanan.
Heard it here first.
And that's right. And Bill Press. Thank you both, guys.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.